Alan Rickman takes the helm as director and the throne as Louis XIV in A Little Chaos, a romantic drama set in 1682, which tells a semi-fictionalised story of a maverick female landscape gardener who was commissioned by the king to design a water feature in the Garden of Versailles. Ten met Alan to hear about his new movie, working with leading lady Kate Winslet, and also to hear that voice. I started by asking him, did he relish the chance to pump it up as the Sun King?
I actually tried very hard not to do it because, it seems to me like asking for trouble to act in a film and direct it at the same time. But, economics wins and pressure from producers. So given the fact that I then found myself having to play the part, I was relieved to discover that, the biggest inspiration for Louis, as far as I was concerned, was to think of movie directors because, in a way, that's sort of what he was.
Why do you think you were asking for trouble when you were kind of starring and directing in a movie?
Because it's, you have to move from watchful to kind of being in it, and it was useful as Louis XIV to have a watchfulness in the eyes. It's not normally useful on screen for an actor to be doing that. They should be just kind of innocently in a situation.
Kate Winslet plays Sabine de Barra, the landscape gardener who ruffles more than a few feathers at the royal court when she becomes an unlikely favourite of the king. So was Kate always in Alan's mind to play the part?
Yeah, because she becomes kind of self-selecting. As time went on, from the time I first started working on the script with Alison Deegan, Irish woman, living here in Wicklow, which was where this film was born. During that time, Kate got to be the right age. And it's a very short list of people you could go to who will absorb the period, do the homework, don't mind getting dirt under their fingernails, and reluctantly scrub themselves into something very beautiful.
Of course, she announced during the shoot that she was pregnant. Did it present any problems?
Thank goodness for corsets, is all I can say, and for a woman DP who was constantly watching for any continuity problems.
Okay, it's
in a way that only a woman DP would.
But there is one scene where you as director, you chuck her into icy cold water in the middle of the night.
Well, her husband was watching.
A Little Chaos is also a sweeping love story, and there in the background is Rickman playing a particularly benevolent version of the Sun King, a powerful man who comes to be charmed by Sabine's more earthly simplicities. Did Alan do much research for the part?
Yeah, I did, but whatever you do, you're guided by the writing. The writing has a point of view, and what Alison did brilliantly, because of course, one of the things one should say is she's written a script where the leading character could not possibly have existed. Yes, there was Lenotre, but he was 70 at the time. She's gone, take 35 years off his age so that we can have a love story with this woman who could not possibly have existed. There were no women with jobs. In Alison's script, she makes him a human being, so that's what I have to follow.
Irish scriptwriter Alison Deegan wrote A Little Chaos, but hers is not the only Irish input. Alan's old friend and colleague, costume designer Joan Bergen, is involved, and Irish actress Kathy Belton, who is currently appearing in TV3's soap Red Rock, also appears in the movie. So the Irish Mafia are very much involved in A Little Chaos.
Well, I'd worked with Kathy at the Abbey. She's a fantastic actress. I've worked with Joan 4 times now, back doing Awfully Big Adventure, and she did the clothes for The Winter Guest, which is the other movie I directed, and she did the clothes for John Gabriel Borkman at the Abbey recently, and now this. So the thing about Joan is you're an idiot not to employ her, because not only do you get a great costume designer, but you have a kind of philosopher on the set and somebody who really listens to the acting. So you've got a conscience in your ear from her. A conscience in a black hat.
From his very first movie playing naughty Hans Gruber in Die Hard, to his scene-stealing turn as a very nasty Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and of course as Professor Snape in the Harry Potter movies, Rickman has always been a very good baddie. In fact, you might even say he was the villain of the piece as Eamon de Valera in Neil Jordan's movie Michael Collins.
No, I don't think he was, and I certainly wasn't going up that avenue. I think that, unfortunately, such are the vagaries of the editing process that, a scene that might have been an important vitiating factor doesn't go into the movie for whatever reason. And also, Neil's sympathies would probably push it in that direction, but not mine, no. And I hope that, one made him as real as possible.
Would you have been a Mick or a Dev man yourself?
You see, that goes back to the whole thing about, when you play somebody who really lived, you find yourself very defensive of them. And so I have no idea. Probably Michael Collins, but and probably almost certainly. But at the same time, I'm playing somebody who for whom Ireland became his mother, since there wasn't one. And, there's at least a suggestion there that he was illegitimate and born in America. And so to have somebody who becomes president of Ireland with such a kind of huge sense of himself and the history of this country, you can't talk about it too lightly. You've got to kind of examine it and not be flippant about it.
Alan, thanks for talking to us.
Okay.
Cheers. Thank you.